Leather cracked against canvas like a whip. September air at Deer Lake carried sweat and old blood. The gym smelled of work, decades of it soaked into wood and rope. Muhammad Ali circled the ring, hands loose, grin wide enough to sell tickets. His eyes moved between two men standing near the corner. Joe Louis, compact power wrapped in stillness. Bruce Lee, smaller, quieter. Ali's voice cut through the rhythm of speed bags. I heard Joe Louis is the best karate guy in America. He nodded toward Bruce, and this one's some kind of kung fu wizard. The word wizard hung in the air like a challenge disguised as a compliment. Tommy Brennan sat on a wooden stool, wrapping his hands with methodical precision. 220 pounds of heavyweight muscle. His knuckles disappeared beneath white tape, loop after loop, tighter with each pass. He glanced up at the two martial artists. His eyes held the quiet confidence of a man who'd sparred champions. Ali's grin sharpened. Let's see it. Joe exchanged a glance with Bruce. Something unspoken passed between them. Bruce's face revealed nothing, but Joe's jaw tightened. And that told Brennan everything he needed to know about who would step in first. Leather squeaked as gloves touched. The bell rang sharp. Joe's reverse punch cut through mountain air with the snap of a whip, but Brennan's head had already slipped left. Empty space. The boxer's shoulder rolled, minimal motion, maximum result. Joe reset his stance, weight shifting to his rear leg. His low kick hammered into Brennan's thigh with a meaty thud that echoed off log cabin walls. The jab punished him on exit. Knuckles found Joe's cheekbone before his foot planted. The price of commitment. Brennan moved like water finding cracks, angles appearing where none existed. His footwork carved geometry into canvas. Round 2. Joe pressed forward with combinations, back fist, reverse punch, roundhouse. Sharp, fast, technical, but the boxer created space with pivots that turned aggression into empty pursuit. Each time Joe closed distance, Brennan's feet had already rewritten the equation. The gym smelled of old sweat and leather polish. Autumn air crept through gaps in the walls. Round 3. Joe's left eye was swelling now, flesh puffing around the socket. His breathing came heavier. He chambered a side kick, but Brennan saw the telegraph. Another jab, then another. Joe's head snapped back with each impact. Ali leaned against the ropes, arms folded. His grin had faded to something sharper. He was not just watching anymore, he was measuring. The right hand came through like a piston. Joe's guard split. His head snapped back, neck whiplashing. The canvas blurred beneath his feet as he reset, dragging air through clenched teeth. He chambered a side kick, textbook form, hip rotated, but Brennan had already pivoted out, circling left. The kick cut empty space. Another jab found him. Leather thudded against cartilage. Joe's nose popped. Blood welled, dripping dark circles onto the canvas below. One drop, two. The training team's voices dipped to murmurs. Someone whistled low. Joe planted his laid foot, trying to close distance. His breathing came heavy now, ragged in the quiet gym. Brennan bounced lightly, shoulders loose, gloves pristine. The boxer owned the geometry. Every angle belonged to him. Joe threw a spinning back fist. Brennan slipped inside, countered with a body shot that folded Joe's ribs inward. The air left him in a grunt. Style versus style, karate versus boxing. The boxer was winning. Ali's voice cut through the silence, sharp and clear. See. Boxing beats karate. Joe straightened, jaw tight, blood streaking his upper lip. Across the ring, Bruce Lee hadn't moved from the corner. Those calm eyes watched everything, and Ali turned toward him. The bell clanged, harsh metal cutting through thick air. Joe stumbled to his corner. Hands grabbed him, pressed cold towels against his swollen eye. The fabric came away pink. Blood traced from his nose down to his chin, metallic and warm. His ribs screamed with each breath. Around him, the gym smelled of old canvas and fresh humiliation. Ali rose from the ropes, voice booming across Deer Lake. See, boxing beats karate. The words landed heavier than Brennan's fists. Joe stared at his taped hands, knuckles unmarked, useless. Every technique he trusted, every chamber, every stance had crumbled against angles and footwork. his jaw clenched, doubt carved through him like a blade. Across the ring, Brennan bounced on his toes, not a mark on him, not even breathing hard. The boxer rolled his shoulders, grinning, already looking past Joe toward the next challenge. Ali turned. His gaze swept to the corner where Bruce Lee had stood motionless through all 3 rounds. "Your turn, wizard." The gym went still. Bruce stepped forward and smiled. Bruce removes his jacket. The fabric whispers against his shoulders, folding over his forearm with a precision that silences the room. No words, no posturing. He steps to the center of the canvas, and the gym swallows its own breath. Every heavy bag hangs motionless, the smell of sweat and leather thickens. Brennan sizes him up, smaller, lighter, 60 pounds lighter, maybe more. The boxer's lips curl just slightly. Ali's grin fades, Bruce bows. The movement is brief, controlled, a gesture stripped of ceremony. When he rises, his eyes hold the stillness of deep water before a storm. Brennan raises his gloves, settling into his stance. His feet shuffle, his shoulders roll. Bruce does not bounce, he does not chamber a fist or shift his weight into a ready position. His hands float at waist level, fingers loose. His spine remains vertical, rooted. Joe Louis, pressing a towel against his swollen eye, lines forward. Ali's training team exchanges glances. Brennan circles left. Bruce's head turns, tracking him. Nothing else moves. The timekeeper lifts his hand. The bell rings, and Brennan discovers he has no idea what kind of fight this will be. Brennan flicked his left shoulder. A feint. Bruce's eyes remained flat, unblinking, no reaction. The boxer circled right, leather soles scraping canvas. He snapped a jab at Bruce's face, testing. Bruce's head moved 3 inches. The glove whispered past. Brennan tried again, sharper, faster. Bruce was not where the punch landed. The crowd murmured. Joe Louis leaned against the corner post, watching his own failure reflected in reverse. Brennan doubled up, jab cross. The combination split empty air. Bruce had stepped forward inside the arc, past the reach where punches develop power. Too close. Brennan's arms were extended, useless. He shoved back, blinking. The scent of menthol and old sweat filled his nostrils. His chest tightened. He reset his stance, gloves high, but his breath came faster than it should. Ali leaned forward, elbows on the top rope. His grin had disappeared. Something was different. Brennan searched for an angle. Bruce stood centered, hands loose at his sides, weight distributed like water finding level. The distance between them felt, controlled, not by Brennan, by something else. Bruce had not thrown a single strike, and somehow that made him more dangerous than anyone Brennan had ever faced. Brennan planted his rear foot. His cross came hard, straight, everything behind it. Bruce's left hand snared the wrist mid-flight. His right palm pressed Brennan's elbow. The boxer's arm collapsed inward. Bruce stepped through the gap, no space now, no distance, and his fist drove into Brennan's ribs. The sound was dull, wet. Brennan tried to pull back, but Bruce's fingers locked his lead hand like iron. Another strike hammered the same rib. Then another. Brennan's mouth opened, air hissing through clenched teeth. He twisted, shoving with his shoulder, but Bruce flowed with the movement, punishing the exposed side. Joe Louis gripped the ring post, knuckles white. Round 2. Brennan came out heavier, throwing hooks to break the grip. Bruce melted inside each arc, his strikes finding gaps between Brennan's breaths. The boxer's chest heaved. Sweat dripped from his chin. He swung wild. Bruce wasn't there. Ali's grin had vanished entirely. Brennan backed against the ropes, gloves low, ribs screaming. Bruce stood center ring, his breathing slow and even. No marks, no strain. Water after a storm, perfectly still. And Joe realized this wasn't even close. Ali's hand cut the air. Okay, that's different. Brennan doubled over, palms pressed to his ribs. Each breath rattled in his chest. Sweat dripped from his chin, darkening the canvas below. Bruce stepped back, shoulders loose. His breathing came smooth and even, as though he'd simply walked across the gym. Ali looked between Joe and Bruce, recognition dawning in his eyes. Joe fought the boxer's fight. Bruce's voice carried through the silence, no triumph in it. Only fact, I did not fight at all. Joe's fists clenched at his sides. I controlled distance. 3 words, they landed like hammer blows. Joe's eyes widened. His mouth opened slightly, but no sound came. The swelling around his eye suddenly felt distant, irrelevant. Imagine spending years perfecting techniques, only to discover you'd been answering the wrong question. Few could understand what cracked open inside him in that moment. He'd tried to prove karate could beat boxing. Bruce had simply, removed the question entirely. Ali tilted his head, studying Bruce with new intensity. So what else can you do when you're not fighting? But the answer Bruce would give next would reshape everything Joe thought he knew about combat. The cabin light swung gently, casting shadows across rough-hewn walls. Joe's left eye had swollen to a purple slit. He pressed his palms flat against the wooden table, feeling the grain bite into bruised knuckles. Bruce sat opposite, breathing easy, unmarked. The silence stretched. Few champions could sit in defeat without excuse. Joe broke first. I tried to prove karate works against boxing. Bruce tilted his head, waiting. You did not try to prove anything. Joe's voice cracked. You just did what worked. Bruce nodded once. The light bulb hummed overhead. Style is the enemy of adaptation, Bruce said. His words fell like stones into still water. You represented karate, I represented myself. Joe's jaw tightened. He stared at his hands, years of chamber drills, belt tests, kata perfection, all the structure he'd built his identity upon. The table seemed to tilt beneath him. Then what am I? Joe whispered. Bruce leaned forward, the shadows deepened across his face. You are what you choose to become. He paused, but first. You must unlearn everything you think makes you strong. The words hung in the mountain air. Outside, wind moved through Pennsylvania pines. Joe felt something fundamental shift inside his chest, a foundation crumbling. And 6 months from now, that collapse would rebuild him into something Ali's camp had never seen coming. 6 months rebuilt a fighter from ash. March 1973. The arena in Long Beach smelled of sweat and canvas and expectation. Joe Louis stepped into the ring for the World Heavyweight Karate Championship and fought like no karateka before him. Boxing footwork, pivot angles borrowed from Deer Lake. His opponent lunged with a traditional reverse punch. Joe slipped it, closed distance, trapped the extended arm. Wing Chun principles locked the man's structure. A wrestling clinch followed, knees hammered ribs. The crowd murmured, confused. Joe dropped him in round 2. The judges huddled. Microphone feedback squealed. Their spokesman cleared his throat. This is not pure karate. We question whether Joe's voice cut through the arena, calm as September mountain air. Bruce Lee taught me that purity is for style demonstrations. The room stilled. Effectiveness is for fighting. Silence. Then the head judge raised Joe's hand, belt around his waist. Cameras flashed. Few could understand what the moment meant, not just a title, but the death of boundaries. Style as religion had collapsed. What rose from the wreckage was something rawer, truer. The lesson became legend. Decades later, fighters would still speak Bruce Lee's name when asked where mixed martial arts was born.